Hey guys, Red Addendum here, and we are back for another SCP reading. Right? We are on to Obsidian Ritual Knife. SCP-034. Obsidian Ritual Knife. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-34 is to be kept in a secure room with access granted only to Level 4 personnel. SCP-34 itself will be kept in a locked case that is under 24-hour supervision and surveillance. When not in lab conditions, SCP-34's protective sheath cannot be removed under any circumstances. Any personnel in contact with SCP-34 must be placed under a 24-hour observation period until their identities can be confirmed. Description: SCP-34 is a primitive knife constructed out of pure obsidian. Tests reveal that SCP-34 is approximately 1,000 years old. Despite its crude method of construction and age, SCP-34 is still incredibly sharp and requires no maintenance to retain its edge. Expert analysis hypothesized that SCP-34 may be of South American origin, and that it may have been used in Native American rituals. Several accounts from Spanish conquistadors exploring the blank region supports this hypothesis, with detailed writings on how blank priests would flay their victims alive with similar knives and wear their skin as a tribute to their gods. SCP-34 has the ability to allow its bearer to take on the appearance of another individual. If SCP-34 is used to cut a piece of flesh from a living individual, and that piece of flesh is placed against the skin of another individual, the second individual will take on not only the appearance, but all physical characteristics of the first individual. Testing has shown that the minimum amount of skin required can be as little as 1 square centimeter. However, testing has also revealed that the amount of time the transformation lasts is directionally and directly proportional to the amount of flesh used. The ratio of time the transformation lasts and the flesh used has been measured as approximately 1 hour for every square centimeter used. Once the time limit is passed, the affected individual will revert to their original form. Analysis of SCP-34 ability shows that its method of mimicking another individual is nearly flawless. Not only does SCP-34 change its bearer's physical appearance, but their actual physical attributes as well, including height, weight, muscle mass, bone density, hair growth, eyesight, strength, physical medical conditions, and even DNA. The only physical traits that are not carried over in the transformation processes are wounds caused by SCP-34 itself. Subjects will retain their original personality and memories when transformed, even though the process is nearly instantaneous, only taking a few seconds. Human test subjects has described the transformation process as extremely painful. Subjects may also suffer psychological trauma, depending on the extent of their physical transformation. Side effects are especially serious if the subject takes on the appearance of a person with differing gender or with wildly different physical attributes. However, in order to function properly, the individuals who have had their flesh cut off by SCP-34 must still be biologically alive to maintain the transformation. Should the individual whose identity has been stolen expire, the effect immediately wears off. Further details may be found in Lab Report 34A. Also, SCP-34 only appears to work on human subjects. Cross-species experimentation has with SCP-34 have resulted in data expunged. SCP-34 came to Foundation possession when an imposter disguised as Dr. Blank attempted to infiltrate Site Blank. The imposter was apprehended when authorities discovered the real Dr. Blank tied up at his home with a large portion of his right arm skinned. Further details may be found in Post-Interrogation Report 2211. Lab Report 34A. We've decided to test several scenarios dealing with the limits of SCP-34's capabilities. Test 1. Sample taken from deceased human cadaver and applied to subject D452. There is no observable effect. Test 2. Sample taken from D532 and applied to D452. D452 successfully mimics D532's appearance. Upon termination of D532, D452 immediately reverts back to original form. Test 3. Sample taken from D-433 while under a medically induced coma and applied to subject D-452. D-452 successfully mimics D-433's appearance and manages to maintain the transformation and consciousness. Test 4. Sample taken from a brain-dead medical patient who suffered a massive brain hemorrhage and applied to D-452. D-452 successfully mimics the patient's appearance, but immediately loses consciousness upon transformation. D-452 does not regain consciousness until the transformation period expires. D-452 retains no memory of the event. Test 5. Sample taken from D-625, who suffered a broken arm due to a confrontation with security staff. D-452 successfully mimics D-625's appearance, including the broken arm. D-452's broken arm is remended when transformation period expires. Test 6. Sample taken from a terminally ill medical patient and applied to D-452. The patient's terminal illness was caused by an inherent genetic defect. D-452 successfully mimics the patient's appearance as well as the patient's illness. Both the terminally ill patient and D-452 expire at the same time, after which D-452 reverts back to original form. Test 7. Sample taken from a chimpanzee and applied to D-466. D-466 experiences rapid growth of hair across their entire body. There were otherwise no other significant physical or psychological changes. Body hair disappears when transformation period expires. Test 8. Sample taken from Atlantic salmon and applied to D-466. There is no observable effect. Test 9. Under O5 authorization, sample taken from SCP blank and applied to D-466. D-466 experiences extreme adverse reaction upon transforming and data expunged, resulting in significant damage to testing environment, multiple injuries among test and security staff, and the death of D-466. Testing of anomalous humanoids with SCP-034 is suspended indefinitely. Post-interrogation report 2211. As per standard operating procedure, we first attempted to interrogate the prisoner via non-violent, non-invasive means. However, when such methods proved ineffective, we began to implant conversational interrogation techniques. While partially successful, we deemed it necessary to use SCP blank, 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 and blank. We managed to learn the following facts. The prisoner had extensive knowledge on the existence of the Foundation and its inner workings. The prisoner had extensive knowledge on other SCP-related agencies and groups. The prisoner was not acting under any official capacity from any government agency. The prisoner obtained SCP-034 and instructions on its operation from an unknown benefactor. The prisoner was given very specific instructions to infiltrate Site Blank and maintain his position until further notice. The prisoner has had enough samples of Dr. Blank to stay within Site Blank for blank days. Regrettably, the prisoner did not survive interrogation. Agent Blank. So, a knife that if you cut someone and put that flesh on you, you become that person. Simple, effective. I like it. Now, on to SCP-035. Possessive Mask. This is actually a very famous one. Okay? So, SCP-035. Item Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-035 is to be kept within a hermetically sealed glass case, no fewer than 10 centimeters, 4 inches thick. This case is to be contained within a steel, iron, and lead-shielded room at all times. Doors are to be triple locked at all times, with the exception of allowing personnel in and out. No fewer than 2 armed guards are to be posted at any time. Guards must remain outside at all times and are not allowed within the containment room under any circumstances. A trained psychologist is to remain on site at all times. Research personnel are not to touch SCP-035 at any time. SCP-035 must be moved to a new sealed case every 2 weeks. The previous case must be disposed of via SCP-101, as it shows no adverse reaction to SCP-035's corruption. Anyone who comes into contact with SCP-35 when it is in possession of a host is to be given an immediate psychological evaluation. Description: SCP-35 appears to be a white porcelain comedy mask, although at times it will change to tragedy. In these events, all existing visual records, such as photographs, video footage, even illustrations of SCP-35, automatically change to reflect its new appearance. A highly corrosive and degenerative viscous liquid constantly seeps from the eye and mouth holes of SCP-35. Anything coming into contact with this substance slowly decays over a period of time, depending on the material, until it is decayed completely into a pool of the original contaminant. Glass seems to react the slowest to the effects of the item, hence the construction choice of its immediate container. Living organisms that come into contact with this substance react much the same way, with no chance of recovery. Origin of the liquid is unknown. Liquid is only visible from the front and does not emerge or is even visible from the other side. Subjects within 1.5 to 2 meters, 5 to 6 feet, of SCP-35 or in visual contact with it experience a strong urge to put it on. When SCP-35 is placed on the face of an individual, an alternate brain wave pattern from SCP-35 overlaps that of the original host, effectively snuffing it out and causing brain death to the subject. Subject then claims to be the consciousness contained within SCP-35. The bodies of possessed subjects decay at a highly accelerated rate, eventually becoming little more than mummified corpses. Nevertheless, SCP-35 has demonstrated the ability to remain in cognitive control of a body experiencing severe structural damage, even if the subject's body literally decays to the point where motion is not mechanically possible. No effect is found to be had when placed on the face of an animal. Conversations with SCP-35 have proven to be informative. Researchers have learned various details about other SCP objects and history in general, as SCP-35 has claimed to have been at many monumentous events. SCP-35 displays a highly intelligent and charismatic personality, being both amicable and flattering to all those who speak with it. SCP-35 has scored in the 99th percentile on all intelligence and aptitude tests administered to it, and appears to have a photographic memory. However, psychological analysis has discovered SCP-35 to possess a highly manipulative nature, capable of forcing sudden and profound changes to interviewers' psychological state. SCP-35 has proven to be highly sadistic, prompting some to commit suicide and transferring others into near-mindless servants with linguistic persuasion alone. SCP-35 has stated that it has intimate knowledge on the workings of the human mind and implied that it could change anyone's views if given enough time. Additional: SCP-35 was found in a sealed crypt in an abandoned house in Venice in 18 blank. Addendum 3501. SCP-35 has been found to be able to possess anything that has a humanoid shape, including mannequins, corpses, and statues. SCP-35 has been able to motivate all into movement, removing the need to expose live subjects to SCP-35. Still, anything it possesses inevitably decays into motionlessness. Addendum 2. SCP-35 has facilitated an escape attempt, convincing several of the research staff to aid it in its bid for freedom. Insurrection failed. All staff that have been in contact with SCP-35 have been terminated, and mandatory psychiatric evaluations have been implemented on all personnel coming into contact with SCP-35. Addendum 3. It has been determined that SCP-35 is capable of telepathy, whether or not it possesses a host, even penetrating to the subconscious of others and using the knowledge it finds to its advantage. Extreme caution is advised when choosing subjects to converse with SCP-35. Addendum 4. SCP-35 has expressed its interest in other SCPs, most notably 4715 and 682. Dr. Blank has expressed worry that should SCP-35 bond with either, their regenerative qualities would negate its corruption and give it a permanent host. Addendum 5. After several more escape attempts, and after reviewing SCP-35 Incident Report, High Command has ordered that it be permanently sealed within the facility and prohibited from being allowed any more hosts. Several personnel have protested against this, with some even erupting into violence. As a direct result, all personnel that have come into contact with SCP-35 have been terminated. Going forward, all personnel that deal with SCP-35 are to be rotated frequently, and contact is to be limited even to its dormant state to as little as possible. Addendum 6. Personnel within 10 meters of SCP-35 have recently reported feeling unease, stating that they can hear unintelligible whispering. Several others have suffered from severe migraines. Object has been monitored, there has been no change in its dormant behavior, and no sounds have been recorded. The motion to reinstate SCP-35 host privileges has been brought up once more, if only on a temporary basis, to discover these new changes to the sub-object's behavior. Denied. Addendum 7. The walls of SCP-35 containment cell have suddenly begun secreting a black substance. Tests on the substance has revealed it to be human blood, although highly contaminated with several foreign and unknown agents. Substance is corrosive, having a pH of 4.5, and prolonged exposure to the walls has proven to be detrimental to their structural integrity. More notably, it seems to be forming patterns on the walls. Several segments seem to be paragraphs in various languages, including Italian, Latin, Greek, and Sanskrit. Translation is pending. Other segments appear to be diagrams depicting ritualistic sacrifices and mutilation, often for the arcane benefit of the person committing them. Several staff members have been shocked to note that all of the sacrifices bear an uncanny resemblance to various personnel and their loved ones, often in conflicting positions. Researchers, while in the room examining these newly formed patterns, have complained about hearing loud whispering and high-pitched, unnerving laughter at irregular intervals. Personnel in the section working directly near and around SCP-35 containment unit have suffered catastrophic moral damage, with an all-time high in suicide rates in staff in that area, whether or not they have ever been in contact with SCP-35. The only change in SCP-35's dormant behavior is regarding its contained glass case. Degeneration of the case has increased to a high degree, enough so that the glass will occasionally shatter, causing a wide dispersal of SCP-35 contaminant. This occurs quite often, at the most inopportune times, so far resulting in 6 casualties and 3 fatalities of both research and cleanup staff. Addendum 8. In light of the mass suicide/homicide of the members of the research team tasked with translating the passages garnered from SCP-35's containment cell, the moral damage in the area, and general loss of staff whilst dealing with SCP-35 to either death or insanity, it's been decided to coat the inner and outer walls of its containment cell with SCP-148, and has proved well in containment of SCP-132. See Document 132-1. In order to hopefully block out high levels of negativity being emitted by SCP-35. Addendum 9. The use of SCP-148 has worked well, causing moral and suicide rates to return to near pre-SCP-35 rates. However, the material appears to facilitate the negativity within the cell, causing a venerable greenhouse effect inside. Personnel inside the cell have stated feeling a heavy sense of dread, fear, anger, and general depression, as well as hearing constant, nearly inaudible whispering upon immediate entry. A prolonged stay causes severe migraines, suicidal tendencies, heavy hemorrhaging of blood vessels around the eyes and inside of the mouth and nose, general hostility to others, and for the whispering to increase to almost deafening volumes, intersected by a constant mocking laughter. Exposure to more than 3 hours inevitably results in the subject falling into a deep psychosis and attempting to harm either themselves or others. Most spoke in Latin or Greek, despite the fact that several did not previously know how to speak said languages beforehand. The presence of blood in both word and diagram formations has increased disproportionately. The walls become cluttered, and the formation beginning to overlap each other. The substance has proven to be both difficult to clean and even more corrosive than was originally recorded. With a pH of roughly 2.4, general estimation gives that the current walls a life of 2 months before they will be in need of replacement. It is becoming gradually more and more difficult to contain SCP-35, and the debate to reinstate its host privileges has come up once again. Denied. Addendum 10. The walls, ceiling, and floor of SCP-35's containment cell have now been completely saturated in blood. All personnel entering and guarding the area must wear full hazmat protection suits. Constant cleaning efforts are being instated. Addendum 11. The magnitude, insanity, and reoccurrence of the phenomena that occur within SCP-35's containment cell has increased to an alarming degree. The cell door has been known to become locked of its own accord whilst personnel are inside and unable to be opened for a period of time. Appendages form out of the larger puddles of blood and often attempt to grab or harm personnel near them. Blurry apparitions have started appearing to staff. Electronic devices no longer work with inside the cell, and the lights cannot be turned on, although there is no physical reason why it does not work, forcing those entering to use non-electric based light sources. Cleaning measures are having no discernible effect on the cell, and the walls are degrading at a very high rate, forcing them to be replaced within a week at best, although the blood makes it nearly impossible to properly archive this. SCP-35 may have to be moved to a new cell entirely, with an old one being sealed off and disengaged from the rest of the facility. And that was SCP-35. A very scary, very vindictive, very manipulative mask. But isn't that something that we all do? We wear a mask. Thank you for listening. If you liked it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Because why not? It's free. And anyway, I'll see you guys in the next episode. But until then, bye.